Well, what a difference a year makes when it comes to the priorities of the nation's top commodity groups. Last year, the focus was on the MAHA and the Farm Bill. But this year, there are some very common goals all of the groups actually share. Farm Journal's Michelle Rook caught up with the CEOs here at Commodity Classic to talk about their focus for 2026.
U.S. grain and oilseed producers have shared in the pain of low prices and profitability, but instead of more government assistance, they're looking for new demand. For corn growers, that means year-round E15.
This is going to be the most expensive corn crop in U.S. history, and so we're looking for ways to keep them afloat. And E15, in our opinion, is probably the easiest thing that Congress could do.
Recent efforts to pass E15 failed, and a task force of biofuels and petroleum interests working on a compromise missed their February deadlines. But they continue to push because even though it's voluntary, their analysis indicates E15 will move the meter.
Full implementation, which will take time with E15, but that could result in about another 2.5 billion bushels.
Caskey says the other demand component is trade, and that's why renewal of USMCA is important, and they support a trilateral agreement.
I think that we've got a really good deal in USMCA in its current form, and so I would urge the president and the administration to start there and extend that.
The nation's wheat growers are also supporting USMCA renewal to boost wheat exports.
Mexico is the #1 export destination of U.S. grown wheat, so we certainly want to make sure that we keep that relationship strong and going. And Canada's a great partner as well.
Kiefer says new trade deals are needed, but they're also building markets through the Food for Peace program and want Congress to move it to USDA as part of the Farm Bill.
USDA is already in the business of engaging in food aid programs globally. They have the infrastructure, they have the personnel, and they understand agriculture.
And he says a long-term farm bill is needed to provide certainty to farmers and offer a safety net. So they're excited the House Ag Committee starts markup on March 2nd.
The One Big Beautiful Bill did make some significant investments for the future, but there's 3 years of market loss that our growers are struggling with at the moment. They're making hard decisions, and some of them are reducing acres, some of them are letting go fallow, and there's a price to be paid for that as well.
For U.S. soybean producers, the trade truce with China was critical, but they want a long-term deal in writing in April when the two leaders meet.
We're urging the Trump administration to make sure that we lock in a stable agreement with China. We had the 12 million metric ton commitment for this marketing year. We'd love to see that go up. If that went up by another 8 million tons, we would welcome that. And then, of course, there's the commitment for 25 million metric tons for each of the next 3 years, minimum purchase requirements.
Senske's not concerned the Supreme Court striking down the IEEPA tariffs or President Trump's new tariffs will take away the leverage the U.S. has with China.
The tariffs, of course, add to uncertainty. The president talks about what a good relationship he has with President Xi, which is wonderful. And so we're hoping, that he will be able to have a deal with China.
While China imports more soybeans than the rest of the world combined, ASA is also looking at diversification of their export portfolio.
Trade remains so important to soybean farmers. We export over half of what we produce, and so opening up new markets is very important to us.
Increasing biofuels demand is also at the forefront of ASA's priorities, and they're happy the RVOs finally moved to OMB this week.
EPA has proposed the highest volumes on record, and we want to make sure that in the final rule that's adopted, that those are brought home, because that's so important to soybean demand, soybean prices.
Senske says EPA's proposed 5.6 billion gallons for biomass-based diesel would add 2 billion gallons to the current volumes.
It would be over a 60% increase, and so we really think that in the previous RVOs that were set under the Biden administration, they really underestimated the capacity for us to produce.
The nation's sorghum producers are also focused on biofuels, including getting E15 passed, according to CEO Tim Lust.
We need the demand now with the softness in prices and profitability across all commodities. It's one of the few things that we could do that would have an immediate impact that is good for farmers, good for demand, good for saving the government money.
He says they hope Congress can find a legislative vehicle to move it on soon.
Need a deal, want a deal. Exactly how that goes is something that's still got to be threaded through Congress. Nothing gets passed through Congress simply.
Sorghum producers are are also looking to exports, and renewal of the current USMCA is key, but they're also excited about new trade deals.
From an international standpoint, where's the trade opportunities and what's that look like? A lot of new agreements going on, and so for our industry, it's about that market access and long-term market access.
And they're eyeing two of the biggest populations in the world for the most immediate impact on sorghum demand. Most
years we do about $1 billion worth of trade with China, so it's certainly a significant item. In the last about 8 or 9 weeks now, they've bought about 40 boats. And so certainly that's very influential to our industry. You know, the one with long-term potential for us is the India agreement, and sorghum being mentioned in there is important from a long-term standpoint.
And this push for increased demand will hopefully mean better long-term prices for the nation's grain producers. I'm Michelle Rook for U.S. Farm Report.
Thanks, Michelle. Well, USDA said last week during the Ag Outlook Forum that farmers may plant 94 million acres of corn this year. But could farmers actually plant more than that in 2026? That's next.